Thank you for being with us today. Those of you who are guests, my name is Michael Mirdad, and I serve here as part of the spiritual leadership. And the way that we do our services is generally for me to ask what topics you would like me to cover during the service. So fire away.
Taking the journey to the dark night of the soul.
Stillness.
Anybody else? Pardon?
Forgiveness.
Compassion.
Hearing God.
Grace, resilience, trust, the ability to accept,
What's the last one?
the ability to accept.
Good, thank you. Living on earth is such a strange experience because we have different levels of perception. And everybody thinks that, whether the topic is forgiveness or whether it's family, everybody's got opinions about things. And opinions are worthless. They have no value whatsoever, just other than people love to hear themselves speak. When you are coming from the ego, all you can do is misperceive everything. You cannot, putting it in neurological terms, when you come from the reptilian part of the brain, you can't be rational at the same time. You're being survival oriented, agreed? So when you can breathe and kick in higher parts of your nervous system, the beyond nervous system to higher elements, higher components, higher levels of consciousness, and the fore part of the brain, you're getting imagination. And people will say, yeah, but we needed, when what? When you were an amoeba? You were never an amoeba. Knock it off. We needed to know how to fight and flight. Do you think that's God talking? Did God say, I need you to know how to run when you need to run because I can't protect you? No. Fear-based thinking is primal thinking. Primal thinking is ego-based thinking. And ego-based thinking is all based on perception. You can't know anything. And when you're coming from the reptilian part of your brain, you can't think rationally because you're afraid. So something else is already kicking in. Okay? So far? Now, when you can breathe and calm and center, you asked about stillness. When you access that place of stillness, inspirations come to you. Mother Mary didn't need, or her husband Joseph, didn't need to be afraid to know to flee before murder came to the children of the region. They were guided. Spirit will guide you in all matters, not just meditative matters. So you don't need the ego to be there in case God messes up one day, in case God doesn't show up. This is the ego selling itself. Now that you're on the spiritual path, I know you see my valuelessness, but I need to convince you that I still have value so that you still sell yourself out. So when you reach, now that's the lower three chakras and it's the primal part of the brain. When we move up from the lower three centers to the heart center, a lot of people would be like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's where everything's great. No, the heart is actually only the place where you now go from misperceptions of the ego to perceptions of the heart. The perceptions of the heart could either have God guidance or ego guidance. The heart, choose whom ye will serve. In the primal self, there's no choice. You're running on fear automatic pilot. When you reach your heart, you now learn what it is to make a choice. I get to decide. My heart matters. What I feel in my heart matters. However, it's still the place of duality. You're not beyond duality till you rise to the upper three centers of the Trinity of God within us. So there's misperceptions of the lower self, perception, which could be right or not so correct, or correct or incorrect, of the heart, and then spirit, which is called knowing, not perception. Now, a lot of us on the spiritual path, if we've been on the spiritual path for more than a couple of days, we think we're now in the knowing of God. It doesn't work that way. The knowing of God, spiritual teachers would love to all say, you're students, you're somewhere else. I'm in the knowing of God. You can't be in the knowing of God and not, for a decent duration, and not burst into light. Okay? So there's misperception, perception, always the Trinity. I always come back to that if you see that, right? Misperception, perception, which could be off or on, depending on how clear your heart is, and then the knowing of God. Do not assume, I want the knowing of God. Listen, first, move out of misperceptions. Move out of ego-based thinking. Can you work on that instead of, I'm ready for the knowing of God? Even the spiritual teacher needs to understand, I do my best to open my heart to know the knowing of God, but I slip sometimes. See, that's the right way to look at it. To recognize that you slip, instead of affirming that you have perfect knowingness of God. Well, if you are, how come you still cast a shadow? You're here, man. You're dense in more ways than one. So you have to just know the knowing of God. That's the knowingness of God is like where I've shared about people talking about oneness, or they talk about non-duality. The fact that they're talking means they don't even understand non-duality. Stop thinking that you know the allness of God. Here on earth, you have a body, you have a heart center, and the heart center serves as a mirror onto which the light of God can reflect and shine into your being. That doesn't mean you're up in the holiness, perfection of God. Stop making grandiose claims. And it's not wrong and limited to say, well, Michael teaches you can't be completely one. I didn't say that, did I? I said to be in a dense body and hold the vibration of oneness. Your body is the vibration of separation, which is why you have two eyes. It's why you have human senses. These are all a rebellion against oneness. See? If something doesn't work right, I'll use my hands to make it. It's called doing, the world of doing. Back into the love, the presence of God in our hearts first. We have to shift from misperceptions, ego-based thinking, into heart-centered, right perception, hopefully, but you have to choose it. The heart is the place of choice. People think the heart is the all. It isn't the end all. The heart is where we're getting back. It's the place of our soul. Here's my human ego self. Here's my soul. Now, if I can keep my soul awakening, I'm going to learn to peel away layers of the ego self. I shift from misperception to healthy, righteous perceptions, still perceptions. Because it still means you're there. Your opinions are still there, filtering what's coming through. This is not a dissing of our abilities. It's getting your priorities straight. Stop listening to the body, the human limited ego self telling you what to do and how to live your life. Cut that off for a moment, pause, open the heart and ask for God's guidance. Doesn't mean you've risen to oneness with God immediately. It means I'm feeling and seeing this beautiful light. When you walk down the street, people can see it shining from you. And when they say, wow, are you the Messiah? Because they're going to see it. They're going to, why do you glow? Why do I glow? Because don't you feel it? I'm not there, one with God. I just feel God's presence. And that's enough to make me glow. It's enough to make me smile. It's enough to make me feel faith during challenging moments. It's beautiful stuff. It's not either or. It's not I'm in the ego self or I'm completely holy. That's going to mess you up, because when you think you're perfectly holy and you trip and slip in your life, you're going to crash from all the guilt and shame you put on yourself for not being in perfection yet. Let it go. Own the heart, the one in the middle that says, no, this is the part of me that, hey, you think you're spiritual, you think you're holy. No, actually I don't. But it's my intention to be. I just open my heart to be. And you know what I notice is more and more moments are just pure light. I don't seem to be filtering it like I used to. Used to be an inspiration could come and it didn't last for half a second without me ruining it. You know? Wait, the Lord's speaking. I'm better than you. That wasn't the Lord speaking. That went through a filter somewhere. You can tell because it hits a filter of ego when it's judgmental, when it's strongly opinionated, which gets very tricky, the whole ordeal. This is what the Bible refers to as a house divided. Every human being lives in conflict, whether they know it or not. Oh, Michael, you're wrong. I'm not conflicted at all. Look at me, I'm just holy. Trust me, man. You're conflicted. You're in a body. Part of you knows that you're a soul, and yet you're in a dense body. Part of you knows you're an unlimited being, and yet you still have to work for a living. You know you're an unlimited being. You still have to take some sort of medicine or herbs or whatever. You're an unlimited being. Why do you have to comb your hair? Why doesn't it comb itself? You're conflicted every day. We're conflicted about something because you know this presence of God. Wow, I know it's there, but where are you, God? Today, I could really use some help. I don't care what you're doing. It doesn't always pan out the way holiness would have it be. And that creates this conflict inside. Even as you stand here, you are a collision of conflict. Spirit that's coming from above down into your heart, ego that's from the root coming up into your heart trying to sabotage you. So even as you stand here, it's a collision of these two forces. The solution is in my heart. I have to make the right choices. See? Choose whom you will serve, God or manna, reality or illusion, love or fear. But it's a choice you have to make every day. It's not like you do it once and it just runs on automatic pilot. Every day we have to deal with this house being divided. And a house being divided can be literal, like, for example, you could live in a house and you're fighting with a housemate. That's a house divided. And some of you do that. Some of you have marriages. The word marriage means to join, to marry, to join together. Yet you're conflicted in your household. People trying to raise kids. And one of them wants to do it assertively, one of them passively, just as an example. That's conflict. Divided we fall. The second worst kind of abuse that you can do to a child is inconsistent parenting. The worst is overt abuse. The second is inconsistent parenting, where the parents might even agree on what they're going to do, but one of them is subversive and starts messing around and changing the rules. Well, that's your dad. I would let you watch that show if it were up to mom because she's wonderful. That's creating conflict. Children, and we all are children, but children, including employees, including your animals, everything that is under your authority technically is like a child to you. It needs to see your consistency. It needs to see you are not divided. That's the external versions. Guess what a house divided also means? Internal house. In me, every day. This is why one of the apostles said, it's a funny thing. The things that I know I should do, I don't do. And the things I know I shouldn't do are the things I do. Conflict. Own it. I'm recording this song. I feel like the tempo should be up more, but the record label said no. Conflict. I want to lose weight, but I keep eating foods that aren't. Conflict. I wish I were married, but I'm not. Conflict. I wish I weren't, but I am. Conflict. They're all examples of conflict. And we live with this constantly. A kingdom divided will fall. And if you're the kingdom, what are you doing? We need to identify where we're conflicted. Now, here's the important part. We have to see this. You can't pretend you're not conflicted about something. I hear this all the time. Somebody came to me recently and just, I own a metaphysical center, a spiritual center, but I don't believe in metaphysics and I'm a fundamental Christian. Oh, that should work out. Do you know that business only lasted weeks? Michael, why is that? What do you mean, why is that? Like you're doing holy water on people as they walk in the door. You know, come on. A house divided will fall. But it's a great example, hearing that story and seeing that, because they didn't even realize it. They didn't even agree at first. But I gave examples and I gave examples, which only made them feel worse. So I had to be careful, you know, how to dance with that conversation. Because just because you're right that people are living in conflict doesn't mean they want to hear it. But, you know, you had some sort of injury, a sports injury, and yet you want to hit the Olympics tomorrow. Well, it's not going to happen. You're conflicted. If your mind isn't on your sport, your coach, your trainer is going to say, hey, get your mind on what's happening here. Some of you want to win the lottery. A famous story I've shared many, many times. Edgar Cayce, phenomenal clairvoyant. And, you know, I've shared this story a few times, but here they are. They're saying, okay, can you tell us, this one group, we want to strike oil. Can you tell us where to strike oil? Yes, right there. You're going to strike oil. Okay, they start drilling. No oil. And they keep drilling and they check back with him. Hey, we haven't hit oil yet. He said, that's because you're not aligned. So they keep drilling, no oil. And all kinds of weird things were going wrong with the project. They ran out of money. They sold it to an oil company who struck oil immediately. Why didn't we? Now listen, this is important for us New Agers. You know, us, you just bliss bunnies, man. And, you know, we're prosperous. Listen, Edgar Cayce's people. Cayce was amazed in Christ consciousness and all this good stuff. Why couldn't they strike oil? They would have been able to fund the holistic hospital that he wanted to put together. It was all for good. No, but listen. They asked him, why didn't we strike oil? Because some of you wanted it for the money. Some of it wanted it for the hospital. Some of it wanted for this. You see? Divided we fall. But oil people, they didn't come in there going, well, I'm really conflicted about how much money we should make. Listen, one purpose, one goal. Money. Pink Floyd song, sorry. Anyway. Conflict. You got family members that say, you know, hey man, you need to be part of the family. And they don't even want you in the family. But they'll guilt you if you move away from the family. It's the weirdest thing. Some of you want to live in a certain region, your favorite area, but your parents say it's too far away. Right? That's conflict. You and I have to say, not what do I want to do, it's who am I? And if you're oh my God, I'm a mermaid. Don't live in the desert, man. You're going to dry up really quickly. See, I'm serious. Like, see, if you're a mermaid, don't do it. You know, just come on, get aligned. If you love dry heat, don't live in South Florida, man. Don't live in, you're just going to melt just in the humidity. Fine. Who are you? What are you about? The number of topics, spiritual teachers and healers. It's very heartbreaking to see some brilliant people out there, authors, teachers, TV figures, healers, like Brazilian healer and so on. All these with incredible, authentic talents. But something happens that make them feel conflicted, where their egos get in the way. I'm not naming people, but their egos get in the way. And it's challenging for us spiritual folks, because when you see somebody with great talent starting to act conflicted, letting their ego leak through, it's very challenging, because there's a part of me and us that says, well, I don't want to judge them. But yet you start to see something's not right. So you say, well, and for me personally, I just pull away, and I don't have to judge them. And you got to watch, because when you start to see something isn't right, people tend to judge and come up with something to shame it so that they have a good reason to leave. That's not a healthy way to depart a marriage, a business, or anything else. I'm good. That's all you have to say. I'm good. I'm going over here now. You don't have to shame and blame other people for your change of decision. I'm good. I'm over here. Remember that. But there's all kinds of, and this goes around and around. The Tantra community, oh my God, it's all about love, and it has very little to do with love. So when I wrote a couple books to help people learn about it so they wouldn't be misled. I spoke at conferences, but I was feeling conflicted about it because I'm trying to teach about how to connect with God and even on an intimate level with others, how to bring that presence there. But I'd go to these conferences and see the weirdest things, the craziest things. And right in the midst of it, it's conflicted. How long do I want to teach people that don't want to know? Because I was trying to teach something they didn't want to know. Some certainly got it. It was beautiful. But there was still a conflicted feeling. You have to watch the signs of the times. Watch your heart. Watch your inner compass to see something's off. Don't judge it, but something's off. See, if you're preaching, ecosystem, but you go out and buy some really giant, aggressive car that can run over other cars that are in your way, and it uses 300 gallons a minute of fuel, it might be conflicted. You just might feel a little conflicted there. See, but what's going on inside? People don't have enough of a relationship with themselves to know when they're conflicted. Honestly. It's such a beautiful thing. Filmmakers are making films. Musicians are doing albums in those days where the critics would slam them and they would stop making those kinds of films or albums. You see what I'm saying? Now you could say, well, if they got the pressure of the label. No, listen. It's all you and a mirror of you. A story that I've shared before as well. Very simple. After divorce many years ago, decades ago, I was kind of wondering, what, a few years went by and I'm like, so, what am I going to do, I wonder. Wait, I think now's a good time to try dating or something. And so I thought, wow, so I haven't done this before. I'm going to go to a nightclub and they're playing music and I like music. I'll go and listen. So I go and I listen. And this first time, and I remember my ex, we were on the phone. She said, so what did you do yesterday? Or what did you do this weekend? And I go, I went out dancing. And now when she stopped laughing, she was like, you went serious? I'm like, yeah, it's so different for me. And she said, wow, well, did you meet somebody? I said, no, nobody even asked me to dance. I didn't realize I was supposed to try it, and ask. But I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like an alien species just sitting in a nightclub going, what is this human thing? I really am awed that way. And so I was sitting there observing. Well, here's what happened. The point of the story is, she said, did you meet anybody? I said, no. And she said, well, when you want to, you will. Now, she was just answering the way a friend might, right? Well, when you want to, And I just immediately went, my mind completely shifted. Not an encouraging word from a friend. Well, when you want that. I realized going there was meeting me. When I'm not conflicted about dating, I'll date. When I'm totally in alignment with I'm going to dance, there is nobody else that says yes or no. It's you reflecting back to yourself. If you get this, and I realize in that moment, all power is being given to us to make any decision. The question is, how aligned are you with this decision? And it gets very tricky because the more spiritual you become, the more you awaken what's called a conscience. So now you become conflicted because your awakened self doesn't agree with some of your egotistic behaviors. So it starts saying, hey, why don't you let go of some addictions? But you feel conflicted because part of you wants this and part of you wants that. Carl Jung and Gurdjieff, Ouspensky spoke about this in the deepest part of their teachings. They're saying there's an I that knows what it wants, but then there's another, smaller I that's conflicted. So you say, you know, I heard that 2 o'clock is the best time to meditate. It's when the material world's at its lowest energy, awakening, and the spiritual world's at its highest. That's it. So I'm starting at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be more spiritual. I'm going to meditate at 2 o'clock. Beep, beep, beep. Click, pause, snooze button. Well, I'm going to shoot for 4, because that's closer to when I'm going to wake up. This is what we do. This is what we do. No more one-night stands. Ooh. Look at that. It's constant. And the bigger problem is if you give in to the conflict one way, you're going to pay for it. But if you don't give in, you're going to pay for it in another way. The ego doesn't say, here's the right decision. The right decision is the centered decision, which is I am that I am. I am not based on this or that. It's I am. So what decision is, for me, the one that represents my divine self the most? Not what do I, the little I, want or not want. If you try to fight against the things of this world, you become neurotic. To try to be spiritual is called being a perfectionist, and it comes with neuroses. If you constantly give in, you're going to feel shame and guilt, and then it leads towards depression. Hear what I just said? You can't win. Give in. This is how I was brought up too. Be a good, the devil. Don't give in to the devil. Not giving into the devil is the devil. Giving into the devil is the devil. Can't win. Somewhere in the middle is the still voice of God, which says you're already okay. So when Jesus says, for example, I'm letting you know that in this world you will have tribulation. Listen carefully. And people are thinking it means, there'll always be poor and there'll always be challenges and death and whatever sickness. Listen carefully. The inner meaning is, in this world, which is where? Right here. You will always have tribulation. What's he talking about? Inner conflict. What does he say? They always choose the right one and the left, and that'll resolve the conflict? No. You know what he says? But fear not, for I have overcome the world. Which means chill, dude. Just chill. And watch yourself. Become more self-aware. The inner voices, the inner, dialogues that go on. That's amusing. You can learn so much about yourself, but don't make them bad. Just see what they are. Where did that come from? So you hear this voice that says, one of you asked about forgiveness, one of you asked about compassion. Well, compassion for self. Hey, calm down. Calm down. What have I said many times? You have a child inside. What would you say to the child? Get it right? No. Would you say, always give in to everything? My God, no. What would you say? Well, that's okay. Why do you think you did that? Oh, there's a brilliant idea. Why don't I sit and just compassion? Well, but I did this, and I know. You're not going to, these aren't going to work. They're not going to work. Keep giving in, you're done. You're going to crash. No willpower, no center. Do the opposite and make yourself behave, you're going to become neurotic. You're going to become anxious. Different kinds of illnesses coming from either one. But this one, the one in the center, it's totally different. Here's where I observe myself. And I say, wow, that's so funny wow, look at that over there. But on the spiritual path, you're going to have the tribulation, which means you're going to have moments of inner conflict. But he says, but don't worry, I've overcome the world. So what does that mean? It means, what does it mean? Who's the I that's talking? Christ. So when it says, don't worry, I've overcome the world, it means You have a Christ in you that can deal with this properly. But not by doing this or that, by doing only the centering. Forgive yourself. It's okay. Yeah, but I've done what? When did you do that naughty thing? Yesterday. Oh, but not now, right? Right now, I can choose the Christ as my guide and forgive myself for anything that I was fearing of the future or anything I did in the past. And it's not just a game and an escapism. It doesn't help us to pretend that we don't have these inner conflicts. It doesn't help at all. Be honest about it. And for me, boy, oh boy, the whole concept, ever since I was young for that matter, it's a whole different world to raise myself as I did and having to be so vigilant about this concept, because that can make the perfectionist and back and forth, the duality. Everybody's got this bipolar spirituality to them. So instead, self-forgiveness. Just go easy on self. Remember, going to date and they don't show up. Who didn't show up? Well, those kinds of people. Men never show up. Women never show up. Old people, young people. Always a label. But it's not true. That was you not completely in alignment. What if you started looking back at your life with everything from that perspective? Well, I tried out for a sports team and I wasn't, approved. Who wasn't? And who didn't do it? They didn't approve. There's no they. It's okay. You just weren't totally there. Is that making sense? Try it on for size. They divorced me. I was not in complete alignment. I swear to you, it takes me only seconds to help you figure out that when someone divorced you, in seconds I can show you how you were already done. And what you're really ticked off about is they said goodbye first. Now, how dare them? What are you, in high school? No, I broke up first. No, you broke up. No, I broke up before you. Come on, stop. The inner conflict. I want to be intimate. But there's conflict. It's wrong, and you have to know the person for X amount of dates before you do it. All these stories that people make up. It's all our not so ingenious way of dealing with this material world. A house divided will fall. And I'm saying that if you have division in yourself, psychological, spiritual, material, organic division, you can have cells fighting, creating cancerous cells. See? All kinds of things. So the neurology, the biology, your organs can be conflicted with each other. Peace. I swear to you, when Jesus was talking, peace be with you, he wasn't just talking about no war on the planet. He's talking about a tranquility he's affirming into your being. And you can say, well, that's really nice. That's really sweet of him. But imagine it happening. Imagine this. What if no conflict? And you're a musician and you play every note from spirit to matter, right to the guitar string. What if your parenting was aligned now? What if everything just like a knowingness, which comes from the knowingness of God reflected into your heart, and you just stop having all these other voices? Because you see them and you choose not to listen to them. You retire them. So I realized when my ex at the time said that, I can't even put it easily into words, that all of a sudden, oh my God, like happiness welled up inside of me, and I realized this is funny. So now when I walk in a place and they were dancing and all that, I knew I am that I am. If I want to dance, I'm going to dance. If I don't, I don't. There's no they. It was so amazing to know you go into a store to buy what you want to buy. If you're conflicted, it's not there. Everything outside reflects your inside. If you have any doubts, just go and watch some episodes of The Dog Whisperer. What does he tell these people constantly? It isn't the dog, it's you. Your inner conflict is transmitting down the leash into the animal. If you were chill, the dog would be chill. But you see a dog down the street, and internally, without seeing it, you're already feeling, uh-oh, dog. Down the leash, and your dog starts going nuts. What's wrong with you? Why can't you get along with other dogs? Because you can't. You know? It's just, I'm not picking on y'all, you know, dog owners and parrot owners and goldfish owners or whatever. But it's a shamanic world where everything's connected. And the eagle that flew overhead right now wasn't a coincidence. You know, there's a little black spot on the sun today. It's the same old thing as yesterday. You know, what does he say in that song? It's me. It's my soul out there. You go and listen to a talk that feeds your soul, somehow you were ready. You go to one that irritates your soul, you were not. And it's challenging to have this level of consciousness that I'm describing, because you kind of find that you just start losing interest for all else. Does that make sense to some of you, right? You're just like, no. As a teacher, one of you also asked about acceptance, and I want to say something about that, because change what you can and accept what you can't, right? Everything in the outer world reflects. So if I'm in harmony, the world starts to become harmonious. Things cannot happen by chance. That doesn't mean, because some of us interpret that to mean, if you have some sort of abuse that comes your way, some of us are taught you must have created it. No, guys, that's not very nice to say to people that are going through trauma. Well, why did you create that? Right? That's not kind, it's not compassionate. But the truth is, you didn't need to wake up this morning going, I would like some financial abuse today. That's not how it works. All you had to do was not know who you were 100%, and it opens the door for things. That's all you have to do. Not know yourself completely, and it opens the door. You don't order it up literal per se. Just a little fragileness, an inner conflict. So you're conflicted about, are you male? Are you female? Are you gay? Are you straight? Or whatever the case may be. Are you this religion, that religion? The more you know who you are, the more the dog on the leash is at peace because it's reflecting you. The more your children are at peace because they reflect you. Doesn't mean you should start going, oh God, then I'm really messed up because my dog barks a lot, my kids are really rambunctious. It's not about blaming yourself more. I'm saying to laugh at it. Wow, it really does mirror. Somebody, when you bring a body from an accident into an emergency room, it's not good if the doctor looks at the situation and goes, wow, I could probably open this person up, but I don't know if I should. This isn't going to go well. Do you understand? Nobody wants to be on their gurney going, oh, this is inspiring, right? Wow, this is really good. Guys, you pick it up. You pick it up. You pick that up, that energy, and you respond to it with fear. You need to be the doctor that walks in and goes, no problem, got it. Doom, doom, doom. Put orders. Do this, 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 which can make you sound intense. But you need to do that right now because someone needs to take control of the situation and bring it to the center where you find the greatest good. I know I could say, nurse, if it's convenient, we could use a scalpel and some gauze, but please check in and make sure that's okay. I'll get you the scalpel, but wait, the gauze, you have to get somebody else. I'm allergic to cotton. Just get the gauze and be quiet. Doctors are always so intense. They're always so mean. We react. This is us seeing ourselves. Please be the doctor, the surgeon that knows this is what's needed. Be the nurse that knows this is what's needed. Be the parent. This is what's needed. In this world, you will have tribulation. In this world, you will have conflict. And if I feel like employees or friends or children or anybody in my life is kind of pushing back and creating kind of this strange conflict, I'll dance with it a little while. And people around me will say, why do you bother with that? Compassion, patience, some of the words you guys asked about. Instead of just, well, I know and I know. No, I don't. I keep an open mind. Maybe there's something I need to see or learn to see, experience here. But for the most part, I do my best to stay here. And I will say this, though, because there are even people, my God, spiritual attendees and Course in Miracles students that they talk love and forgiveness, but they don't stay in that space all the time. So I tend to go, well, that's not really where I want to be. That's not what I really want to do. So there's moments where you just say no more, and you have to back off from those sorts of things. I like living in that center. I like saying, well, peace be with you is an affirmation. So if peace is another word for center, then I'm going to look for that peace. A house divided falls. A house of representatives that's divided is in conflict, and it will create problems. How can we come together? How can we join minds? How can I help? And you put that out there and see if people are willing to come and meet you there. But if you're a person who wants to write books on meditation, but your friends are telling you, no, you have to write creepy sci-fi. At first you might say, okay, and you listen because you're being patient and compassionate. But at some point, it's wise to just say, no. Well, I only want to hang out with sci-fi writers. Then leave. Oh, you don't love me. I do. But I'm not going to write sci-fi. Goodbye. You see? I'll put a chapter about you in my next book on forgiveness. Get out. It's okay. It's okay for you to just know what you want to do. Not forceful, but just know, what are you about? To thine own divine self be true. That's what it comes down to. So I mentioned Edgar Cayce earlier, and I'll say one more thing about him. This is really cool in the sense that it's educational. Jesus was telling the woman who channeled A Course in Miracles about Jesus' readings, his channelings. And she was kind of, the point of the story is she's kind of saying, they're like conflicted. The Cayce's messages are very, not conflicted, they're incomprehensible sometimes. They're just very, it's like Rudolf Steiner, just like, what did I just read? It's very heady and very intense. But watch this. So she mentions this. Jesus tells her the reason Cayce's material was incomprehensible wasn't because he was like some intensely intellectual person. He was a 6th grade graduate. His channeling should have been coming through like a simple child in a way. Why was it so? Here's why. Jesus said he wants to be a fundamental Christian in his heart, but he's channeling reincarnation and all kinds of metaphysical stuff. So what happened? Cayce's mind was conflicted, and it messed up the wording and made it incomprehensible so that his mind could justify saying it. Because if it was too clear, he would have had to have owned all this is true. When the Bible thumper in him was like, no, 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 no. And it was sabotaging. You follow what I just said? If that's true, where does your mind sabotage your relationship? Where does your mind sabotage, I'm going to have a conversation with somebody and we can create a healing. And yet it just gets beat up and dies. Why? Something filtered it and ruined it. What is it? It isn't God. You could say, well, it's the ego. Yeah, but what part of the ego is living in you that did that? Look at what's going on. Look at why something went south. Okay? You wrote a book, a publisher didn't get behind you and take care of it and help it get launched or whatever. Watch for the inner conflict. Watch for the oil drilling that somebody else prospers from and not you. Get the conflict. Part the Red Sea, man. Part the Red Sea. No more. It's okay for me to be filled with the light of God. It's okay for me to live in a state of peace. Love it. And I just am so clear about these sorts of things. I could say to a friend with ease. I don't tell people I meet they have to come to the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. I'm really not interested in selling the center to people. But if someone claims to be a friend, I never told my children what religion, what faith, what belief. I never did. I just did my thing, and if they wanted, they ask. I never said, here's the religion we are, because I have no idea. I don't think of myself as a religion or part of any religion. If anything, it would be all of them in some sense, right? So I just don't go there. So it's the same with friends. But if somebody claims to be a friend, whether it's a close friend, a distant friend, whatever, the closer they seem or claim to be to me, the more I want to see it. I'm not interested in talkers. Show me. Show me. Somebody says, "Oh, Michael, I'm really attracted to you." Let's say, "Well, that's nice. What do you do, Michael?" And I don't tell people what I do unless I get to know them. Then I might say, "Well, just yesterday somebody said, 'What do you do?'" I sometimes teach, and they think I mean 5th grade. I say I teach, and oh, that's wonderful. We need teachers in the schools. I'm like, yeah, we do. That's all I do. I don't sell people. I do. And sometimes I say, and I counsel. I'm a counselor sometimes too, which is true. But I'm careful because I don't need to sell anybody on anything. But a person gets closer and closer and closer. There's a point where Christ consciousness, that's me. I don't care if you're a family member. If you're like, "Oh, no, that's ridiculous. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in this religion, that religion, I'm something else. I'm an agnostic." Whatever. You can be anything you want. I just have no time for conversation with you because I know what I'm about. Would you like to join me in this? And so I test people all the time around this topic. People that say they're really spiritual. I just say, great, I go ahead and agree. They push it enough to really ask my opinion. You're going to get the Christy stuff coming out, conversation, It's about Christ consciousness. And if they say, "Well, that's another faith, they're all just kind of horizontal." No. Everything that's horizontal is horizontal. Anything that's vertical is vertical. Show me something that takes you home, and I love it. Show me something that keeps you horizontal, and I'm just happy for you. There is a difference. And some people love to talk, and I if I get pushed enough, I will put it to the test. People in this town, it's a small town, you got strange people. Oh, we're all so loving, we're all bliss bunnies, and yet they gossip, they hate, they judge, and I've said many times to you guys, somebody does that, call them on it. Hey, wait, what are you doing? Oh, well, and they have some issue. Michael wears an earring, or whatever their trip might be. I'm a Christian and those people are too Buddhist, or I'm a Buddhist and they're too Christian. Whatever the conversation. When it gets really dark, I say to you, why don't you say to them, what are you doing right now? Right now, what are you doing? Is this love? Because I heard you say you're all into love and God, but it doesn't sound like it. What you're saying right now is lie. It's false. It's gossip. And it's evil. Trust me, you lose friends quickly that way, which is good. Because you can say, I'm just not, it's a weird thing. Call me silly, but I just don't want evil friends. To each his own, by all means. But are you honoring who you are? I'm drawing to a close with this. Just watch for inner conflict. It takes having a conversation and a practice of watching your inner self. It's amazing. You want this, but you're doing that. That's conflicted. You want this, but you wish that. You are this, but you wish that. It's all conflicted. I hope I can retire early, but no savings. And that's me. I mean, I admit that. I'm like 90 now. And, and it's like, anytime I'm supposed to be able to retire, and what am I going to retire on? I'm just going to teach till I die, and that's it. That's my retirement. Oh, better be good. So I close with this, guys. You are currently dying. Any part of you that is conflicted is dying. There's a death in your cells, in your mind, in your psyche, in your soul, in your emotions. Any part that is conflicted, if it isn't God, if it isn't peace, it isn't life-giving, it isn't biogenic. It's biocytic. Hate. I wish I could forgive them, but I have good reason not to. Conflict. Watch for the inner dialogues. I would like to do this, and I'm not saying it's easy. You will have tribulation in this being, in this world. But Christ in me, has overcome this. So I need to find the Christ voice, the Christ center in me to help me through this. When someone comes to you for counsel, as a friend or as a counselor for that matter, do what you can to help them find peace. Forget right and wrong. Peace. I don't know what to do about this. Well, we all struggle with that. Really? Even you, counselor, astrologer, friend? Yes. Mom, dad? Yes. I struggle too sometimes. See, make them feel heard. Why? Because it brings them peace. Did I tell them which road to take? No. What can help them feel different right now about themselves and about their life? I feel like I waited too long to get into spirituality. Well, thanks for sharing. But today is today. Let's go. You want to wake up now? Because you could have died tomorrow and not been awake. Now you got it. Good job. Really? So I didn't have to wake up when I was 20 and now I'm 80? No, you did. Apparently you didn't. It's okay. Make them feel heard. Michael, sometimes I get so angry. I just want to tell them to blankety blank. I said, excellent. Good. Say it in a pillow. You know? You see what I'm doing? It's peace. It might look like techniques of some kind, but underneath it, it's bring them to peace. Someone that looks at you and says, I'm afraid I'm dying. Say, when you get to the other side, can you put in a good word for me? Because, make them feel assured. Let them know it's going to be okay. Man, I really envy you. Yeah, but I'm sick and I'm dying and on and on. Man, I promise you this day you shall be in paradise. Anything you can do to bring people back to center, back to calm, back to peace is a right answer. Back to this place. But I should have and I could have. Duality. You will make decisions, but they're going to come from a different place. They come from what resonates with peace, not what gives me peace this extreme or gives me peace this extreme, because there's nothing that gives you peace. You are the peace of God. How do I remember that? Forgiving myself. I love one of you asked about the word grace. That's grace. See, grace is here. If I refuse to forgive you or I must forgive you, that's depressive and neurotic. I need do nothing. Let me feel what God feels about you. And all of a sudden, there's nothing to forgive. See, even when you think you're forcing yourself to forgive, that sounds very spiritual. It's not. It's a neurotic behavior because it involves doing and forcing. In the center, there's nothing left to forgive, which is not an easy thing. I can say that, but I know that's not easy for some people because of some of the very hurtful things that have happened. But it is possible. It's like saying, here, I'm above all that now. In your center, there's a being that cannot be hurt or offended in any way. Make righteous choices for yourself, healthy choices. Lastly, just the word healthiness. If all this sounds too cosmic, how do you tell your friends and how do you tell your relatives? Well, I heard this guy talking. I'm finding my still point inside center, and I don't believe in duality anymore. They're like, we were just having eggs and bacon. What the hell are you talking about? Use the word healthiness. It's a great one. Hey, everyone, I just decided I'm going to start living my life based on healthiness, like a compass. North, healthiness. And some of them are going to hate you for it. How dare you bring the topic of healthiness into our family? You know, you guys can do what you want. I'm not saying you. I just said healthiness. It's a really cool thing to sometimes just do an email blast to all your family members. They'll think, uh-oh, they've lost the plot, as they call it in Australia. You know, you've lost your mind. And you just go, no, actually just healthiness. Oh, you mean vegan? No. Mind, body, soul. Healthiness. So if we have family reunions and there's gossip, I'll leave. You see, you don't want it to come across, I'm better than you. I'm struggling with this. I'm not preaching it. I'm struggling. I'm working at this. But for me, no more addiction. You know, when I left high school, I never partied that much. But still, when I left high school, friends were already gossiping. Oh, you know, we've heard he doesn't want to be around anybody drinking anyway. That wasn't true at all. That was their little story they made up about somebody that mirrored to them their own conscience. But healthiness, you know, I'm not interested in that, and I'm not interested in that. Is it bad? I'd never said that at all. I just know what's here, what feels right for me. So find that place, find that stillness inside. Find what seems to resonate with peace. Careful of the words, what gives you peace. Nothing gives you, you are peace. People will say you have to check in and see if something makes you feel peace. Not a bad way to start, but I'm just telling you, nothing makes you feel anything but you. Misaligned, I feel conflicted. Aligned, I feel peace. So why don't I just stay in peace? Nothing makes you peace. You are the peace of God. Please take a few centering breaths. First, just letting your mind calm as you take each breath. Peace, inner peace as you inhale, and so it is on the exhale. Just go into a wave of peace. Just the initial levels. What did we hear today that made the most sense? What was the talk about? Great advice and some funny things and some reflecting stories, but it's about what? A house divided will fall, and I am constantly divided. I know that sounds like a harsh affirmation, but just wait. I feel constantly divided. I'm divided as to what friends to have, which house to rent, where to live. Think about it. Be honest with yourself. What hairdo, the simplest things, to do or not to do. Be open, be honest. Divine Mother, help me, show me. Where is my life majorly and minorly conflicted? Just show me. Things I do know and things I don't know. Show me where I'm conflicted. Where am I conflicted in my parenting, in my partnerships, my friendships? is my conflict affecting my health? Where is it affecting my wealth? My creativity? Just be open. Have these aha moments. None of this was ever your will for me, God. You did not create me to come here and be conflicted. I'm now putting all of this conflict on the altar. I can see so many ways I try to resolve the conflict. I try to have a drink to calm my conflict. I use relationships to pull me out of that conflict, but it doesn't work. I try to get things right. Surely becoming more spiritual will solve this problem, and it doesn't. It helps. Onto this altar in my heart, earnestly, honestly, truly, authentically, thoroughly, vulnerably, all of my life, all of the areas of my life that are conflicted. I choose to not cure these, fix these, fight these things on my own anymore. I ask you to give me the wisdom to spot these more quickly and more quickly courageous to put it on the altar. I of myself am nothing. I'm pulling away from all the enmeshment of in my conflicts. My worries that feed them, uncertainties, self-esteems, low self-esteems. That's it. I can't. I withdraw into my heart where my perceptions can change. From misperceptions to healthy, holy perceptions. Breathe in the new. I need do nothing. I am as God created me. Truly in this center, I am the Christ on earth. Hear this as the voice of the mother singing to your heart, your innocence. opposite of a house divided is a house united. So I choose not to fight with guidance inside or out. I choose only to listen to the thoughts God would have me think. I have the right and the power to choose only feelings that God would have me feel. And God says, I love you so much that I would only want you to feel things that are loving, peaceful, life-giving, inspiring, and creative. All I need you to do is say, yes. Slowly centering. One or two hands on your heart and in your mind. When you're ready, if you choose it, say yes. So it is. Slowly stretching and coming back to the so beautiful. What we heard, what you guys shared in your questions, nicely weaving. So simple, applicable, profound, but yet simple in a way. A house divided will fall. And we have conflict. So my intention now, bid farewell to the conflict and choose to hear the voice of God more and more and more. That which is loving, peaceful, the greater good, win-win. Those are all the voice of the mother. Gossip, hurt, hate. It's not the voice of God. Thank you. I'll share a couple of announcements. We'll do our collection and do our closing prayer. So just be as generous as you can be with your collection, please. Your donations. We appreciate that. We appreciate that somebody sent an added donation to help us afford, get the carpet here. We're going to replace the carpet. And so anybody else that can donate towards that, because it's quite a lot that costs, and we're going to go for that, okay? So we appreciate your donations. But here, the purple bags are for your love offerings. Do whatever you can to support us. We greatly appreciate it. And then anytime during the week or month or year, you can do one-time donations. You can do steadily monthly donations. There's a lot of different ways that people can help. All right. But your love offering, the baskets are for any extra donations, which are people of lesser means that we help, or special projects. All right. All right. Your love offering to your heart. You can read it on the bulletins or online together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Beautiful, beautiful. What did you learn or hear today that made the most sense for you and or the people in your life? What did you learn or hear today? Anyone want to share? Yes? seeing conflict differently. The whole concept of what was shared. To realize, to own that we struggle with conflict that we don't even know we have. You can go and have a dental appointment and be conflicted with it, and then it can't go as well because the outside will mirror the inside. Bring peace to all things. Friends, relations, partnerships. But it does mean sometimes saying no to things that don't resonate. A couple of quick announcements, please. First of all, remember that the chaplains do a prayer circle here after service. If you're wanting to have them add your name and do a prayer with you, just ask them. Our chaplains are also available for spiritual counseling, so they can sit with you after services, sharing a few minutes with you on whatever topic. If you're looking for a private session with me, those are done online primarily, okay? So you can go on our website and register for that. I will say, remember if you're on social media to like and subscribe and all those cool and fancy things you can do to support us. Also, Daughters of Heaven Conference. Remember that. So it's about 7 weeks away now. It's going to be an extraordinary event. Look online, look at the website for the Daughters of Heaven. Look at our Facebook page for Daughters of Heaven. Watch videos about the topic here if you can, or online or whatever, so that you can get more information about it. And there's a book related, but absolutely profound announcement that there are light workers since the beginning of time on this planet that are working to bring people home. The Daughters of Heaven are now awakening on the planet, only starting a couple of months ago, this grand awakening. The Daughters of Heaven aren't trying to bring people home, they're bringing home to the people. They're bringing the presence of God, reflecting the presence of God. That's what the conference and the book are all about. So it's time again also for the first day of the month, we spend it as a devotional day. So the first hour was our opening prayer, the second hour is our closing prayer. And then the third hour I will do from the podium here, and after that it continues every hour with a little bit of discussion, prayer, meditation, whatever happens in the moment. But if you're welcome, if you're interested in doing that, you are welcome to join us. Every hour devotional, it's 12 hours, all right? So it's the first Sunday of the month. But keep in mind, you can join us in so many ways. You can join our Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook group, but also we have a Zoom program every Monday. It's free. Most of what I do is free. There's donations and all, but most of what I do is free, and I will do that as often as I can and for as long as I can. But remember, you can join our Zoom group. If you're already in the Facebook group, ask how to get in the Zoom group, and they'll do that. If you're not, then go to the Facebook group, and it'll tell you how to get in. All right? And by the way, those of you who attended last week's 3 Gates of Love, Intimacy, and Passion, man, that was extraordinary. Just really, really grateful. We don't usually go back and talk about events that are past, but last week we had an extraordinary workshop, and the feedback that I heard, man, is just, there was just such a wave of peace, love, something, in the room. Different people shared their terminology a little differently about it, but it was fantastic. And lastly, our crystal bed is available. We have crystal bed room here, a healing room. And here's an example of what the crystal bed experiences can be like. It's different for everybody, but I'm telling you, it's pretty cosmic. I saw butterflies all around me. This is when somebody was lying on there, the lights were working. Then I felt a gentle psychic surgery on my sinuses. An entity touched my right hand twice. A blue waterfall of liquid light was rinsing all layers of my body, and then light turned to turquoise, and I could hear the colors. I could feel a slight headache sensation coming on the right side of my head, and when I started and asked what was happening, I was told that my neurons and brain tissue were being manipulated and adjusted. I could feel many angels swoop me up into a bed of clouds and gifted me my golden amber wings. Or you might not feel anything. Honestly, it's pretty extraordinary. It's a multi-dimensional experience for most people. The Vogel crystals that are cut a certain way and over each chakra, it's extremely phenomenal. But thank you so much for being with us today. Did you do well with the meditation as well today? Okay. I will say that Our meditations, we get great comments about them. But what happens in the human mind is sacred service, it's just a Sunday service. And the meditations, those are nice. It's a little ending of the talk. That's how some minds do this. Any one of these meditations is like a workshop process. You can heal, forgive stuff from lifetimes ago in 5-minute meditation. And our musicians tuning in the way they tune creates the vessel, the frequency for it. These are not just meditations, man. These are God moments. Just really phenomenal. And I say that because I'm here experiencing it with you. The talks, they're not just talks. Don't let your mind ever just go, that was neat. Ooh, neato. Please understand the depth of what you're creating for yourself. While you have it, enjoy it. It feeds the soul. Okay? Feeds the soul. Thank you for being with us. Please stand for our closing prayer. We'll begin our closing prayer with appreciation for our beloved Ananda Das. Yes. You can find his material online, those of you watching around the world, but also in the foyer here. He's got some products that you can check out, all right? So by all means, and you can also extend your gratitude. And donations, extra donations if you don't mind, please consider. It adds up. And I love to see musicians and creative people fed that way, all right? So thank him, a hug. New albums? New, right on. All right. All right, tuning in. Gratitude. Prayers of prosperity for our beloved guest musician today. We heard what we heard, felt what we felt, but we're saying to you, Divine Mother, keep this moving through us. Keep this processing through us. Let this keep processing and going to higher and higher levels of understanding in our being. Let this become an integrated education from today and every day. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thank you.